अभी मीडिया में जाने के बाद शायद खेलने के लिए दिल्ली जा उधर
ఆయనను నమ్మడం జరిగింది. అది ప్రేమ అనేది అభిమానమైంది. అభిమానం అనేది దేవునిలాగా పూజించుకుంటున్నాను. నేను ఎక్కడికైనా వెళ్తే ఆయన ఫోటో చూసి నేను బయటికి వెళ్తుంటాను. నేను శుక్రవారం రోజు ఆయనకు ఫాస్టింగ్ కూడా ఉంటాను నేను.
नहीं गांव वाला भी नहीं रुका. वो गांव वाला भी वो बहुत खुशी रहता है. वो अमेरिका प्रेसिडेंट है ना, उनको ये प्रतिमा लगेगा ना, उसको अच्छा लगेगा. वो ट्रम्प ये घर आने के वो बहुत अच्छा रहता.
Somebody had to do it. I am the chosen one. I am the chosen one. I am the chosen one. Somebody had to do it. So I'm taking on China. I'm taking on China on trade. And you know what? We're winning because we're the piggy bank. We're the one that all these countries, including the European Union, wants to rob and takes advantage of. European Union, $200 billion. China, more than $500 billion. Sorry, I was put here by people. I was put here by people to do a great job. And that's what I'm doing. And nobody's done a job like I've done. More than 2 decades of waivers. We are no closer to a lasting peace agreement between Israel and the Palestinians. It would be folly to assume that repeating the exact same formula would now produce a different or better result. Therefore, I have determined that it is time to officially recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. Israel is a sovereign nation with the right, like every other sovereign nation, to determine its own capital. It was 70 years ago that the United States under President Truman recognized the state of Israel. Ever since then, Israel has made its capital in the city of Jerusalem, the capital the Jewish people established in ancient times. The Israeli people have built a country where Jews, Muslims, and Christians and people of all faiths are free to live and worship according to their conscience and according to their beliefs. I am also directing the State Department to begin preparation to move the American Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. The United States remains deeply committed to helping facilitate a peace agreement that is acceptable to both sides. In the meantime, I call on all parties to maintain the status quo. This sacred city should call forth the best in humanity, lifting our sights to what it is possible, not pulling us back and down to the old fights. Vice President Pence will travel to the region in the coming days to reaffirm our commitment to work with partners throughout the Middle East to defeat radicalism that threatens the hopes and dreams of future generations. It is time for all civilized nations and people to respond to disagreement with reasoned debate, not violence. Let us rethink old assumptions and open our hearts and minds to possible and possibilities. And finally, I ask the leaders of the region, political and religious, Israeli and Palestinian, Jewish and Christian and Muslim, to join us in the noble quest for lasting peace. Thank you. God bless you. God bless Israel. God bless the Palestinians. And God bless the United States. Thank you very much. Thank you.
הנשיא טראמפ הוא ידיד גדול מאוד של מדינתנו. מנהיג שעשה דברים שלא נעשו קודם לכן והיו צריכים לעשות בתוקף הצדק והאמת. אני מזמין את ראש הממשלה בנימין נתניהו לשאת דברים, בבקשה.
And on the other side, we have three symbols. We are very happy to announce that the Mikdash Educational Center just produced a new Cyrus Trump temple coin. This special coin was produced and minted for the 70 years of the independence of the State of Israel, and to honor and praise President Donald Trump, who promised, but not only promised, also fulfilled his promise, and next week will move the American embassy to Jerusalem. Charged me to build him a house in Jerusalem. The candelabra was always the symbol of the State of Israel. In three languages, in Hebrew, in English, and in Arabic.
אחר כך את העניין של איראן.
עזוב את איראן עכשיו, דיברנו על איראן מקודם. President Trump is starting a prophetic process by moving the American embassy to Jerusalem. Just like King Cyrus 2,500 years ago said, he charged me to build a house in Jerusalem. Here again, President Trump is building a house in Jerusalem.
And today, Jennifer and I and others had a chance to go see the Western Wall of the Temple Mount, the Western Wall tunnels, so much of the old city. And as you stand there, you can't help but behold the miracle before you. And it got me thinking about another miracle that I hope all of you don't see too far away. Because 1917 was a miracle, 1948 was a miracle, 1967 was a miracle, 2017, the declaration of Jerusalem as the capital was a miracle, and there's no reason why the miracle of the reestablishment of the temple on the Temple Mount is not possible. I don't know how it would happen, you don't know how it would happen, but I know that it could happen. That's all I know. And a step in that process, a step in every process, is the recognition that facts and activities on the ground truly matter. And that's why going and visiting Judea and Samaria, understanding that sovereignty, the very sovereignty of Israeli soil, and Israeli cities, locations, is a critical next step to showing the world that this is the land for Jews and the land of Israel. And I believe, as was mentioned, he said you need to, what was mentioned is you need to buy the ticket. Don't just wish for 40 years to win the lottery, buy the ticket. I would submit to you, in light of the support you have in Washington, D.C., the support you have amongst patriotic Americans, amongst evangelical Christians, amongst believers, amongst Republicans, even amongst some Democrats who can barely say it anymore in Washington, buy the ticket, take your action, do what needs to be done here in Israel, because I truly believe this is a moment where America will have your back. You have Donald Trump in the White House. You have Mike Pence as vice president. You have Nikki Haley at the UN. You have true believers in Israel and America that have your back.
The infamous October 7 massacre that sparked a war. But one confounding yet eye-opening motive has escaped the headlines. In a recent speech, a Hamas spokesman blamed the Jews for bringing red cows to the Holy Land. The cows he's talking about at a secure, undisclosed location are these, red heifers, to be precise. Some Jews and Christians believe they're the key to rebuilding the historic Jewish temple in Jerusalem and to beckoning the Messiah. To understand, you have to go back nearly 2,000 years when the ancient Romans destroyed the last temple in the city. To rebuild it, these believers point to the Bible's book of Numbers. It commands the Israelites to sacrifice a red heifer without defect or blemish, and that has never been under a yoke. Only then can the temple rise again. Caring for them on an Israeli settlement in the West Bank is Yitzhak Mamo.
So we have here, after a long research, we find in Texas.
In Texas?
Texas, United States of America.
Texas Red Angus, flying them 7,000 miles to Israel.
This is not a publicity stunt.
What do you mean?
Meaning, this is something you take very seriously.
Harry Potter is a good story. The Bible is not story. The Bible is a way of God to lead us.
A massive altar already awaits, where the heifers are to be burned. According to some believers, the ceremony needs to be performed right here on the Mount of Olives, looking directly into where the temple once stood. But something else now stands in its place. The Dome of the Rock and Al-Aqsa Mosque, among the holiest sites in Islam. Today, only Muslims are allowed inside, but that's not stopping Jewish activists outside.
Once you got, you started here.
6 days a week, Melissa Jane Kronfeld leads groups from around the world who defiantly pray, as close as armed guards permit.
It's not about the destruction of Islamic holy sites. It is about preserving this place and being guardians over the house of God for all people.
So you're happy with it where it is?
No, it's going to go 100%. But I believe
it's going to go.
It's 100%. Yeah, the whole thing is going to go. We have to build a temple.
When you say that Dome of the Rock has to go, MJ, it's hard for me to imagine something more incendiary.
Well, let me ask you something. The Middle East seems pretty destabilized right now. And the war, if I'm not mistaken, is already here.
To be clear, hers is a dream not shared by the Israeli government or by the vast majority of Israelis and Jews, but it's been enough to incite numerous Islamist groups. Hamas has dubbed its October 7 assault on Israel the Al-Aqsa Wave and has the Dome of the Rock on its emblem. But this is sacred ground to billions of Muslims globally, not just Hamas terrorists, stresses Imam Mustafa Abu Sway of Al-Aqsa Mosque.
Al-Aqsa Mosque belongs to all Muslims. So you'll find reaction from Indonesia to Toronto to New York. That's really given. Al-Aqsa Mosque belongs to all Muslims, and the Muslims today are 2 billion people.
Simply by performing these acts, are these Jewish activists kicking a hornet's nest?
They are.
A hornet's nest they're kicking all the way to Capitol Hill.
So good to see you here in the nation's capital.
Those sacred cows were showcased in Washington at a recent prayer gathering. Many evangelicals believe these red heifers will usher Christ's second coming.
And we need the Messiah to come, right? So for me, the red heifer is red for the blood of Jesus Christ.
Back in the West Bank, Mamo says the ceremony could take place any day.
But can you understand why Hamas could be outraged by something like this?
I cannot understand that even if they are right, why they have to slaughter and rape people to win their war.
Terrorists have been attacking us before we ever dreamed of these cows, he reflects. They don't need them as an excuse to kill. For CBS Saturday Morning, Chris Livesay, Jerusalem.
Earlier this month, the Chabad movement marked the yahrzeit, the 27th anniversary of the passing of Rebbe Menachem Mendel Schneerson, who transformed the insular Lubavitch Hasidic group into a worldwide Jewish outreach movement. And it was not just Chabad marking the day. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was among the many prominent figures who paid tribute to Schneerson. Now, predictions that Chabad might fade or splinter after his death in 1994 have proved unfounded. With its Chabad houses and emissaries omnipresent in every corner of the globe where Jews might be found, it is arguably the most dynamic Jewish religious movement of the modern era. But it does have detractors, those who criticize what they see as an excessive emphasis on messianism, an aggressive outreach approach viewed as veering into a sort of missionizing at odds with Jewish tradition, and claims that it sometimes tries to monopolize Jewish life, even among largely non-Orthodox communities. So on this week's Jewish Forum, we ask, what is Chabad's place in the Jewish world? And we have in our Tel Aviv studio, Rebbe Dr. Mira Neshama Weil, Jewish meditation, Torah, and Musar teacher. We have Rabbi Dov Halbertal, former head of the Office of Israel's Chief Rabbi, and he's speaking to us from Jerusalem. And we have from the U.S., from the Netherlands now, Rabbi Shmuley Boteach, American Orthodox Jewish rabbi, author, and TV host. I'm going to start with you, Rabbi Boteach. You, in a sense, emerged from Chabad. Let me ask you about its place in the Jewish world. I guess one way of saying it is Chabad good for the Jews?
Chabad is indispensable, excellent for the Jews. I'm in Amsterdam right now. I just came from the Anne Frank House where I met with the International Director of Education. I am actually saying Kaddish for my mother. And where would I say that? How would I have minyanim around the world if not for Chabad? The Rebbe started a global international movement of Judaism that rescued the Jewish faith from almost terminal decline in the wake of the cataclysm of the Holocaust. After the Holocaust, what we Jews experienced was not only the one-third annihilation of our people, but we also were dislocated from the European home, our home in exile that we had for so long. And we also had this terrible tragedy we could not explain. The net result was massive Jewish assimilation. The Rebbe, through seeding his followers and his shluchim, his emissaries all over the world, including me at Oxford University, rescued the Jewish people from this distance that would have been irreversible. We would have lost millions and millions of Jews to Judaism. So let me just be clear. There are two great visionaries of the Jewish people in the modern era.
All right, well, I want to go to Rabbi Habutal. Rabbi Habutal, you are one of the critics of Chabad. In fact, you even tweeted on the yahrzeit of the Rebbe, of the Rebbe's death, Chabad is the closest thing to Jewish paganism, a messianic, missionary, and hardline anti-Zionist movement. As a Jew, I am often ashamed of the coercive ideology of Chabad, whose entire goal is to make everyone their followers. Rabbi, why paganism?
because the Chabad movement sees the Rebbe as a kind of God. They see him as a Messiah, and they treat him as a Messiah. It's very dangerous. It's not Jewish at all. Formally, they are Jewish, but they are much closer to the Christianity, to the Holy Trinity, the Holy Spirit and the Rebbe and God. They are very dangerous, very fanatic, very missionaries, and they are a tragedy, and we have to have care of them. The Judaism, they risk the Judaism all over the world because they make it paganist and the messianic and strange and extreme. By the way, they are extreme, very, very extreme politically.
Police make a wild discovery underneath a synagogue in Brooklyn.
An illegal tunnel found below the Chabad Lubavitch World Headquarters in Crown Heights.
All right, Fox 5's Lisa Evers takes a look at how it was discovered.
The NYPD was called to a location best known as a sacred site for the Chabad Lubavitch Orthodox Jewish sect. Authorities say a group of Jewish men who had a long simmering disagreement burrowed through tunnels under several buildings to break into the synagogue. They got into fights and destroyed fixtures.
The cement truck was here, and these individuals or some of their friends perhaps who broke through some of those adjoining properties disrupted the repairs and ultimately broke through the wall in the sanctuary and vandalized that wall as well. They've since been arrested.
Repairs have been underway for some time, as had the digging. The disruptor group reportedly stored their tools and equipment several buildings away in an unused mikvah, a large same-sex communal ritual bath space. Sources tell Fox 5 that forensic engineers and inspectors are investigating the structural integrity of surrounding buildings to make sure that they're safe.
This is obviously very distressing for the Lubavitch community and around the world and Jewish people everywhere. This is a site that's of great importance for Jews all around the world, and we're looking forward to the decorum and sanctity to be restored.
Rabbi Yehuda Krinsky, chairman of the Chabad Lubavitch headquarters, said in a statement the Chabad Lubavitch community is pained by the vandalism of a group of agitators who damaged the synagogue. The NYPD tells us that 12 men were arrested on a variety of felony and misdemeanor charges. A spokesperson for the Department of Buildings says building inspectors and forensic engineers are on the site and that they've opened an ongoing investigation. In Crown Heights, I'm Lisa Evers, Fox 5 News.
He just, Professor, was nice enough to speak to us for a few minutes upstairs and told the people things that we already knew, but we will reiterate that each one of us, regardless of what business we are in or profession, the true workshop starts at 777 Parkway. You give us inspiration, you give us the pride of being Jews, and you give us the kind of nachas that we can derive any place in the world. And when you talked about sweet ear, it also starts here. Next to you, we all become very sweet, and thank God for that. God bless you and give you many, many years of health and everything.
Influence, the same spirit those the Jews around you, and also the name also.
Thank you.
I'm very occupied now about the spreading Shalom Meir, so-called Shalom laws of Malachi. And it affects directly also the Jewish activities and all the people around us. We behave according to this Shalom Meir. It will become much easier to achieve all the good things that we all have spoken about. And to achieve it in a sweet manner, like in India.
Nothing has been wonderful yet.
הברכה בבעיה. אבל ניסתך מגזם. הברכה בהצלחה. כתפלה ובתושייה. אפילו בקשת בכל העניינים. גם הלאומיים. מה שישראל מלאחרונה ניתצו כמה עניינים. תקחו כמה. מה שלא יאות, וגם מצר שעדיין משאיר ליבו. אז הייתה מה שהוא ומה ידיעתו. עושים. הכנראה שהיא מספיק, כאילו שהיום כבר כמה שעות בגיל עדיין לבוא, אבל יש עוד כמה שעות, אבל יש להשתדל גם היום, בבשורות טובות. יש שמחה וטוב לראות. אתה יודע שחסידים מתפילים שכל מנהיגים את שמחה. בשורות טובות, הצלחה רבה.
Somebody had to do it. I am the chosen one. Somebody had to do it. So I'm taking on China. I'm taking on China on trade. And you know what? We're winning because we're the piggy bank. We're the one that all these countries, including the European Union, wants to rob and takes advantage of. European Union, $200 billion. China, more than $500 billion. Sorry. I was put here by people. I was put here by people to do a great job. And that's what I'm doing. And nobody's done a job like I've done. Now,
my recent election is a mandate to completely and totally reverse a horrible betrayal and all of these many betrayals that have taken place, and to give the people back their faith, their wealth, their democracy, and indeed their freedom. From this moment on, America's decline is over. Our liberties and our nation's glorious destiny will no longer be denied, and we will immediately restore the integrity, competency, and loyalty of America's government. Over the past 8 years, I have been tested and challenged more than any president in our 250-year history, and I've learned a lot along the way. The journey to reclaim our republic has not been an easy one, that I can tell you. Those who wish to stop our cause have tried to take my freedom and indeed to take my life. Just a few months ago in a beautiful Pennsylvania field, an assassin's bullet ripped through my ear. But I felt then, and believe even more so now, that my life was saved for a reason. I was saved by God to make America great again. Above all, my message to Americans today is that it is time for us to once again act with courage, vigor, and the vitality of history's greatest civilization. So as we liberate our nation, we will lead it to new heights of victory and success. We will not be deterred. Together we will end the chronic disease epidemic and keep our children safe, healthy, and disease-free. The United States will once again consider itself a growing nation, one that increases our wealth, expands our territory, builds our cities, raises our expectations, and carries our flag into new and beautiful horizons. And we will pursue our manifest destiny, into the stars, launching American astronauts to plant the stars and stripes on the planet Mars. In 2016, I declared, I am your voice. Today I add, I am your warrior. I am your justice. And for those who have been wronged and betrayed, I am your retribution. I am your retribution. Not going to let this happen. Not going to let it happen. This is the most dangerous time in the history of our country, and Joe Biden is leading us into oblivion. With you at my side, we will demolish the deep state. We will expel the warmongers. They are people that don't get it, although in some cases they get it. They get it for their wallets. But we can't do that. We can't let that happen. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists. We will throw off the political class that hates our country. They actually hate our country. No walls, no borders, bad elections, no voter ID. We will beat the Democrats. We will rout the fake news media. We will expose and appropriately deal with the rhinos. We will evict Joe Biden from the White House. And we will liberate America from these villains and scoundrels once and for all. I'm thrilled to welcome everyone from, and this is a great group, Israel Heritage Foundation, to Bedminster, New Jersey. And I'm honored to receive your Crown of Jerusalem Award. That's a very big deal as far as I'm concerned. I want to thank your Executive Vice President, Yosef. Thank you very much, Doctor. Your Executive Director, Rabbi David Katz. Rabbi. Your Senior Board Member, Farley Weiss. Presented to President Donald J. Trump for his extraordinary and heroic efforts, I like that very much, to help the State of Israel and the Jewish people. He and his family should be blessed eternally. From the Israel Heritage Foundation, July 10th, 2023. I want to thank you, Rabbi. That's really
Did I really say on national TV, on my Newsmax show last night, that Donald Trump is the second coming of Christ and he's the king of the Jews? No. I said in Israel, they treat him like he's the second coming of Christ and the king of the Jews. And it's a New York expression. You know, it's like you and I could have been having an expression. And I said, are you kidding me? In Israel, they treat him like he's the king of the Jews. Does that really mean that I believe he's the king of the Jews? But on Morning Joe on MSNBC this morning, they literally accused me of saying that Trump is the king of the Jews and the second coming of Jesus Christ. Obviously, I didn't say that.